Welcome to another Daily Encouragement, Church. Today I want to give you a brief story reading. There's a lot of different books and knowledge that I encourage you all to search out and based off topics that apply to your life and areas that you want to improve in your life. For me, over the past few years, a lot of the books I've been recommended to by people and sought out myself are regarding leadership, discipline, faith building. And I'm going to read to you from a book called Fight by Craig Groeschel. It's an excellent read. A lot of it applies to men specifically, but everybody, and how to really fight the darkness in this world, fight what Satan throws at you, and fight the way that Jesus fought, in a peaceful and loving way, but a very challenging and difficult way. There's a very cool little parable in this book, and those of you that have read the book know of it, and it really stuck out to me, and I wanted to share it with you. And it is called, it doesn't really have a name, but I labeled it the Eskimo and the Wolf. And in this chapter, leading up to it, Craig Groeschel illustrates the picture of Samson being a strong man with a weak will, and he brings up the fact that we need to be vigilant with our hearts if we're to control our bodies and our desires. And I think that's a very wise piece of advice that Samson should have received, and that we also need to receive, many of us in our lives. So I'll read to you the parable of the Eskimo and the wolf. I once read about how an Eskimo killed a wolf that had been terrorizing his livestock. He dipped a sharp knife into animal blood and froze it. Then he did it again, adding layer after layer of frozen blood to the knife. Then he placed this blood popsicle in the ground firmly by the handle with the blade sticking up. When the wolf came, it smelled the blood and started licking it. It licked, and the frozen blood numbed its tongue. Eventually, it was licking the blade, but the warm blood from the wolf's tongue mixed with the blood on the knife, so he could not tell. He just kept licking until his tongue was in ribbons. By the time he realized what he'd done, it was too late. He laid down and bled to death right next to the trap. Have any of us experienced what the wolf just experienced? Knowing the sin that we were encountering and drawn to, but blindly and arrogantly pursuing it, and then realizing it was too late before we were completely entrapped or dead in the sin. I think that there are many examples of that throughout the Bible, as Samson is one. And I think those are there so that we can place ourselves in the shoes of those people and protect ourselves from falling into those same traps. Because those traps are set by Satan, and he will try to reuse traps and craft new ones for us. Because as Christians and disciples, we have a big target on our backs that says, I'm a threat and I'm a danger to the evil works and the evil spirits in this world. And the devil hates that, and he wants to try to plant his blood popsicle in the ice for us. And one example of scripture that Craig Groeschel references earlier in this book is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12, where it says, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful so that you don't fall. As soon as you think, all right, everything is going pretty well in my life, Satan hasn't crept up on me in a while, I think maybe he's not paying attention to me, so that's great, I'm in his blind spot, be careful. That's exactly where he will come in and strike you when you're most vulnerable. If you get comfortable in war and think, I'm all right, you're going to have a blind spot and people will flank you. As soon as you think, I'm doing well, there's another analogy by a man named Ed Milet who brings up the thermostat in your life, where say you get evicted from your house and you lose your job and things aren't going well in the relationship with your spouse, maybe many different awful things that are just pressing on you, you've gotten cold on your thermostat. And then when those things happen, you're going to crank the heat up and you're going to get the stuff done and do the things necessary to bring you up to temperature and up to above water. And then furthermore, don't stay there and get comfortable, because otherwise you'll drop again. You need to keep a high temperature, or you need to keep stand firm so that you don't drop in temperature and that you don't fall. Essentially, we need to be very cognitive and aware of our faith and our spiritual strength so that we don't fall, and we can fall less, and we can get up easier and stronger. My challenge is, you could look at this parable in a couple of ways. I view us as we should be the Eskimo, cunning and wise enough to trick Satan, who is referenced many times as a wolf or a prowling lion. I think that we need to be cunning and diligent, like in Matthew chapter 10, verse 16, where Jesus tells his apostles, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves, so that you may be as shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. That's what he's called us to do. And it's something that I'm calling you to do. I love you, church.